Welcome to the Roadrunner 89 Investment Network, where we talk about interracial love and marriage. Hope you enjoy. Swirl to investment.
How's everybody doing tonight? Um, Hope everybody is well. Um, I wanted to make this live tonight, and it's going to be a short one, really short. Okay, this is something I want to talk about. Okay, and it's accountability. All right, and if you see my title, it said I must come clean. My hypocrisy only goes so far. Okay, and let me talk about that. Okay, the reason And before I start, let me just apologize to you guys for the shows I've been doing. Uh, I've been kind of off, okay? Uh, with everything going on in this world and all the violence and all the political crap that's going on, I don't like what I'm seeing in America. I don't. I'm seeing too many people divided. I'm seeing too many people that have vengeance in their heart. That lack of forgiveness. It bothers me. And I don't like this us against them. Well, you did this, and no, you did that. And, okay. And I don't like people putting a political assassination and making it a race thing because it's not, it's political. Okay. I don't like when people try to add stuff to it. We got too many nut jobs running around that, you know, we don't know what they could do. Okay. And that's been bothering me. Uh, it saddens me. And then I've been going through some stuff, some medical stuff. Okay. And I shared a little bit about that with you guys. And, I got to be held accountable. Okay. And when I come here and talk to you, you need to know who I am. I believe that's right. I believe that I owe you that. Okay. Um, Too many people on YouTube and social media act like something they're not. And never want to be that. Okay. What I tell you about my life and share, is true. Okay. I've been married 31 years and have a great marriage. I'm retired military, retired Army. Um, and all that's true. And I feel pretty good because what I'm saying is true. And when people try to fact check that, they find out, hey, well, he's telling the truth. Okay. But in my life, I've had to deal with accountability. Okay. The reason I come up here and say how much I love black women and how amazing they are, and say that, some people say, well, he's pandering and all this and that. No, that's how I really feel. But in my life, you know, when I was dating and even when I got married, okay, I wouldn't speak up about how I felt about black women. And, I would try to make it sound like, oh, no, I'm attracted to all women, not to hurt people's feelings, not to. And that wasn't true. And I was just disingenuous when I did that. Okay. And the reason I tell the world is because, you know, I should not be ashamed of that. I'm proud of that fact. I think black women are amazing. I've been blessed, through my life. And, and I think if more people would just speak out how they feel and be honest with people. Okay. Sometimes we kind of hide and especially interracial relationships. It shouldn't be something that you try to hide it or it's something you're ashamed of. Okay. And I've never been ashamed of interracial dating, but I wouldn't speak out like I do now. And I think in my life that's been a problem. Um, so I hold myself accountable for that. Um, and there's a method to my madness. Okay, if I'm going to speak to you, I need to tell you the truth. I don't want to hide nothing from you. Okay, and some of my followers have given me advice on some things you shouldn't share. Okay, i.e., my religious views, my political views. Okay, and for me, I feel I should share that. I should let you know because some people have a problem with my religious views, my political views. Okay. And being a Christian, some people don't like that. Some people don't want to hear about that, but that's who I am. Uh, Being conservative, having traditional values, that's me. That's how I've been raised. That's how I believe. Okay. And whoever's, on this channel, they can believe what they want. And I respect that. I'm not going to throw somebody away because they don't believe like me. I don't believe we should do that. Um, my channel would be bigger if I didn't share everything about me, but that wouldn't be holding myself accountable. I don't want to be something I'm not, and I don't want to project that to you. Okay, and I have to be accountable. Now, with the prayer meetings, okay, if you noticed, I haven't been having a lot of those. Okay. Um, I've been down in the dump because of my health issues. Um, and it breaks my heart because I have problems with my lungs. I got scar tissue. When I got out of the when they when I got out of the army, um, they said my asthma was so bad I was going to have COPD. Well, I've never smoked. I never put nothing in my lungs. Okay, I've lived healthy for the most part, and it breaks my heart that I have to go through this. And they tell me it's because you know being over in Iraq, breathing in that dust, and I was over there 3 times, so I guess it took its toll. I don't know. And then they talk about fire pits, and and I've been down because of that. Haven't been feeling well lately, and I, and on my days off, I would come home and I would get intoxicated. Okay, and I shouldn't do that. I've never done drugs, but I would drink alcohol. And some of my shows, I'd be intoxicated, and it's not right. I'm poisoning my body, and if I'm going to do a prayer meeting, I got to be accountable for that. And I don't have to tell you guys this, but I think in our world, we don't hold ourselves accountable. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always an excuse, and I have no excuse. And I've been getting that together, but a lot of emotions are stirred up right now. And the reason I tell you about me is because I want to be honest. I feel I owe you that respect. If you're going to come and listen to me, I should tell you the truth and not hide anything. You know, So many times on YouTube, we got people that aren't who they say they are. They say they're down with swirling, but sometimes you find out they don't do that. They never have. They do it to build a platform or get views. Or we'll see white men out there do a channel about how they love black women, but you never see them with a black woman. Or you know what I'm saying? Or you'll see black women that are down with the swirl, but they're not. Okay. And I think it's disrespectful, and they're not holding themselves accountable, giving people a product that they're interested, you know, people that believe in swirling our divestment, and the people, creating the content are not even down for that. Okay. I think that's disrespectful. I think that's wrong. And because people take time to watch you, they take time, they follow you. Uh, they like to hear your voice or like to hear what you say. And that bothers me. And I made it a point. I'm not going to do that. Um, and I'm going to be honest with you, who I am, what I believe. Okay. And some people don't like it and have left, and that's fine. But and I don't care how people believe. I just, you know, I'd rather have a channel of 150 people that, you know, accept me for who I am and don't have to, I don't have to BS them to make them think I'm something I'm not. And even though they might disagree with me or not like my views or my faith or whatever, they still love me enough. And that's true friendship. And I want to be around people like that. Not necessarily people that agree with me, but people that love me for who I am. Okay. And, but I got to be honest, and I got to hold myself accountable to you, you know, because it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. You know, I want you to know who I am and be here because you want to be here. Right. And, I'm having some issues, and I've been having to get this right before I do a prayer meeting again. Okay. And I don't want to tell you these things, but I'm being honest, you know, and it's about accountability because I cannot improve without accountability. You can't improve without accountability, you know, and my hypocrisy just goes so far. I just can't, you know, and being down in the dumps and resorting to alcohol to make me feel better. And when I did it, I'd feel good because I'd forget what was going on and just go and here in my little studio and listen to music and just lay back. But whatever problem I had then that I forgot about, I still have it the next day. And it wasn't bad to where I was doing this at work. It was just on my days off, but it's still wrong. And I'm eliminating that part of my life so I can serve God and do it the right way. Um, so there's a lot of things I'm going through, and that's one of them. And I'm tore up about it, and and all the stuff that's going on. And I hate seeing the hate, and that's why I did the show. And I felt I needed to talk about it. And most of you agreed with me. Okay, you might not have liked what I said, but okay, you love me enough to like, hey, I know where you're going with this, and But there's a couple people that give me a couple rude emails, which I thought was pretty bad. I'm not going to say who they are, um, but I found it disgusting, the stuff they said to me. And I know this emotional thing with this Charlie Kirk thing, and I wasn't praising them. I wasn't agreeing with nothing. I just felt we shouldn't celebrate someone getting unalive. That was my whole thing. I just felt as human beings we need, to conduct ourselves better. That's it. Okay. And and that's just how I feel. I mean, and I respect how you guys feel, you know. Um, but we got to be held accountable. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay. I'm not going to tell you something I'm not. Okay. I'm an everyday blue collar worker. Okay. I'm not rich. I do pretty good, but I'm just an everyday guy. And I think most Americans are with me, whether they be black or white or whatever. We're the middle class. We're the ones that keep America going. We're the ones that, you know, work in the plants. We're the ones that build cars. We're the ones that work in the steel mills. We're the ones that are the firefighters, the police officers, the military. Okay, we're the backbone of America. And we're not the elite and we're not the poor. We're like in the middle. It's like we're carrying the load. And, and that's who I am. Okay. I've worked hard my whole life. I have, I've been married 31 years and, it feels good. I could say that. And people could look it up. And you know what? Roadrunner's right. I don't have to make up stuff. I don't have to, you know, and people have looked at my military and I say, you know what? He's right. I didn't do nothing spectacular, but I did my job, you know, and I don't regret it. I'm I'm suffering with some health issues. I am, and it breaks my heart. It hurts. And, my wife worries about me, you know, and, I love her. And, I thank God every day I have with my wife. And this YouTube thing, this is uplifting. This is amazing. I love doing this. Okay. I'm not the best speaker and I'm not, one that can speak good and draw people in. I don't have that gift, but when people get to know me, they know I have a big heart. My father told me, he said, son, you have a big heart. And it's your strength and your weakness. And, I thought about that. And I think, in a way, I have something in common with black women because black women have a big heart, you know, and it's a blessing they have. And it can be a curse, depending on what man they choose, And that was my life, I tell you about the situation, the relationship I had with uh, a girlfriend before my wife, and that was tragic. Okay. And I tried my best to make it work. I took abuse. I forgave over and over, never laid hands on her. And because I have a big heart, I stayed in that relationship way, way too long. Okay. But when I found my wife, I chose right. It worked out, and I think that relationship that wasn't good was a learning experience for me. Though it hurt and it was painful, it 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 made me open up my eyes that I had to see people for who they are. I have to get to know people, and that takes accountability. And and I just want to say that I just want to be honest, you guys, because some people are going to listen to me and want to open up their options. Okay, and I want to, though I can't give perfect advice, but I have a track record. I have a 31-year marriage to a black woman. You know my wife. You've seen my wife. Okay, and the reason my wife comes on, and she wasn't, you know, planning on doing shows with me, but she did, and I'm glad because you see me, you see her, you see two everyday Americans, you know, that opened up their options and found love. And, I want you to see that. I've even shown pictures of my children back when they're little. I won't show them now because of, you know, wackos that are out there. But, you know, and I wish I could. I wish I could show you my family. I wish I could show you my kids, my grandkids. I wish I could give you a glimpse on my life. But because I got to protect my family, I can't do that. And it's sad because I want people to see that blessing, you know, that we can come together, you know. And with all this uh, propaganda going on out there back and forth, all the political nonsense, all that us against them, segregated mindset garbage, I just, I want to be a blessing. I want people to know that you don't have to go the way of the world. You don't have to put yourself in hate. You don't have to have a vengeance heart trying to get even, you know, that we can come together. And believe it or not, we have our own community. I call it the Swirl to Investment community. There are millions of people in America that have opened up their options, you know, and and that's a beautiful thing, you know. Um, so I want to be a blessing, okay. And I see people on YouTube, social media, and that have a bad example, and I don't want to be like that, you know. I want people to come here and they can watch, you know, and, enjoy the show, and it's free. All I ask you give me is a like, one per person, one like. That's all I'll ever ask. Okay. And this is how I feel. I feel black women are such a beautiful blessing and have been to me. I would never ask a black woman for nothing. Okay. But I will give a black woman, I will give to a black woman. And I want to be that blessing. I don't want to take, I want to give. Unlike, jokers like Umar Johnson that lives off black women. I think that's just so disgusting, you know, and I don't want to take, I want to give. Um, Black women have been a blessing to me in my life. And, and it don't take being around black women all the time. It don't take a black woman raising you or having a nanny. No, it's nothing like that. I just, the connections I've had from my babysitter to women in church, black women in church, they've been a shining example, you know, and when you're little, you gravitate to that, children gravitate to love and build a bond, and I've done that, and I think that's God's plan for me to lead me to Sandy, and and some people have a path like me, you know, and not all of us are meant to marry within our racial group. Some of us are meant to step out and be with someone else, and I think that's a good thing. I think more interracial marriages can be a blessing to our nation. It can bring us together. Now, not everybody needs to open up their options, but what I'm saying is, sometimes marriages bring not just two people together, but bring families together. That can bring communities together, and that does happen. I look at my wife's family and my family. You know, it brought the two families together, and it was a blessing. And when we can have more of that throughout our nations, maybe we could uh, learn to love each other and know about each other and stop living in and propaganda and stereotypes and and I think we don't need to be separate. That's when problems come in. That's when we develop animosity towards one another. That's when we start thinking we're better than other groups. And I think the best way to get away from that is come together. Um, and maybe that's a pipe dream. Maybe that's some fantasy I have, my dream. We all come together. But, you know, um, some of us will, and I think in today's world, it's more about good people being with good people. I think you come together where uh, you share values, your faith, better you mesh with. Okay, and I think that's what it's about, you know. And I wish everybody thought like I did on that, but unfortunately, that ain't the case. Some people worship their race, you know. They worship it so much that they don't have love for other people, and it's sad. They can't see the beauty in other groups of people. I seen the blessing in the beauty in black women long ago, and unfortunately, I would hide that because I didn't want to offend nobody. And when it comes to my faith, being a Christian, there was many times in my life I didn't tell nobody. I was ashamed, which is wrong. Why would I be ashamed of a God that created the universe? You know, but I was afraid what people will think. But I wasn't doing my job as a Christian, and and I need accountability, or I can't move forward. And that's the thing, you know. Be true, be real, take accountability. You make a mistake, own up to it. Don't hide it. Own up to it and fix it. And that's what I'm doing tonight. And I'm just telling you guys, you know who I am, you know, and you and I accept you for who you are. That's a true friend. One that might not agree with you, but still loves you. One that sees the blessing in you. One that, you know, and like I said, some people have told me don't talk, don't have that prayer meeting, don't talk about Christianity. People don't want to hear it. And don't tell them you're conservative. Oh my God, you're going to lose so many followers, Roadrunner. Don't do that. But if I didn't do that, I would be a liar to you guys. You wouldn't know what I thought. And I think it's better you know who I am, because if you can't be around me because of that, well, at least you know. And I owe you that respect. You know, it's not about the numbers, it's about coming together and getting something out of this. Okay. I'm a small channel. I wish it was bigger, but hey, I'd rather have integrity within than have thousands of people watching. Okay. And I'm never going to have that. I'm not that entertaining. Let's be honest. And that's okay. I'm not here for that. I'm here to connect with you guys. I'm here to, maybe I could touch a few hearts and you guys, and maybe I can be a blessing to you. Maybe I can uplift you. Maybe I can make you, you know, and a lot of times my enemies will say, well, Roadrunner, the only reason black women listen to you is because you tickle their ears and you tell them nice things and it makes them feel good. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. What I mean, I want people to feel good about themselves when they come here. I want black women to feel like how amazing they are and the beauty they have. And coming from a man that's been married to a black woman for over 31 years, I think that means something. You know, I tell you what, when in my life, anytime a black woman said something nice about me, I embraced it. I felt good about it. Okay. I feel good when anybody says something good, but still, that's what this channel is for. To show love, to uplift you, to encourage people to open up their options, to let black women know there are white men, Asian men, all different groups of men that love you and think you're amazing. And to tell white men and other non-black men that, hey, black women are amazing. And they will. There's black women that will date you, that will give you a chance. Believe it or not, black women are pretty reasonable. If you're a good guy and she's got some attraction to you, she'll give you a chance. A lot of times we're too afraid of rejection that we miss out on our blessing, you know? But before I do that and have these shows, I want you to know who I am, okay? What I think, because I'm not going to sit up here and BS you and tell you what I think you want to hear so I can hide what I really think. I don't know. That wouldn't be right and fair to you, okay? And when I talk about swirl to investment, I need to be honest to you who I am. Because any white guy can get up here and talk about that, but are they living it? Is that their life? Do they believe what they're telling you? When I talk about swirl to investment, that's not something I just did. That's my way of life. You know, 31 years of marriage and then 9 years of interracially dating to get to the time I got married. So what is that? About 40 years of interracial dating. When it comes to opening up your options, I think I know a little bit about that. Okay, of course I came up at a different time. Okay. When I started dating in the mid 80s, a lot of you weren't even alive then. Some of you, I've been married longer than you've been alive. Okay. But I want you to see that. I want you to see someone like me and Sandy, middle-aged people that married when we were real young and stayed married and built a family. And we had, that success. Please don't say you're a small channel. I Yeah, I know. It serves an important purpose. No, but what I'm saying is, I'm not. I'm just trying to have some humility, okay? Um, and I love my channel. I'm happy with it, you know, and hey, it's bigger than I ever thought it would be. It's more than I asked for, and you know, I know there's people with hundreds of thousands of followers, and that's why I say small, because I'll get a few hundred views, and that, hey, I'm happy with that. Where other people are getting 10,000, but my goal is to have a good show, have a good, you know, conversation, and hopefully you can learn from me, I can learn from you, and I want to be that shining example. I want you to know that, hey, I open my options. And my enemies say, "Well, gosh, Roadrunner's old." Talk about like I'm 90 and just barely getting by. But seeing me at my age is a good thing, because if I could do it back then when it wasn't as much of a thing, you can do it now. Yeah, it's much more accepted now than it was when I was doing it. You know, and then people before me that opened up it was much harder than it was for me. So, and that's the thing. That's the example. The Lovings are an example to interracial relationships. They went through hard times, and they were, you know, treated badly. Sheriff kicking in their door because they don't like the fact they're married, and throw them in jail, and that people would not hire him because he had a black wife, and even though he went through all that, he stayed with his wife. He they went through the course. They made it happen. You know, and that's a shining example. And it shows that black women and white men, our relationships are working, our marriages are working. Even though we're targeted, even though we're shamed for doing it. You know, and I tell you, when I started coming up here and talking about my interracial marriage and black women, oh my God, I think, and ever since I did that, it blew my mind that people would call me racist for loving black women. Like, how's that work? May, maybe the definitions changed back in the day. Uh, black people wouldn't call me a racist. They say, "Wow, he loves black women." They would have respect for that. They would like. It seems like it's changing. And back in the day, I thought, wow, black people understand that. Me and my black wife, but flip script, it seems like it's going the other way, where there's a lot of black people that, and mainly the pro-black group, that don't like seeing it because they want to be pure, kind of like the white supremacists want to be pure, with that one drop rule mentality. And to me, that's stupid. That's crap. And that bothers me, seeing black people act like white supremacists. They do. Like, well, if you ain't fully black, you ain't black. Isn't that what white people were saying back in the day? The white supremacists, the one drop rule. Sounds like black people are playing the one drop rule. You're not pure. Telling biracial people, you ain't black. Like, that's stupid. You know, my kids are biracial, but I never tell them you can't be black, you can't be white. They know they're both. You know, but it sounds like, but I don't care who identifies with what racially. Then if a biracial wants to be white or black, that's their right. We'll let somebody identify as being French and they only got 30% of that, but they can claim that, but you can't claim black if you're half black or white if you're half. But I'm not into identifying. We're human beings. I'm so tired of this skin tone worshiping. We're like in a skin tone worshiping culture now, aren't we? Where you got these wackos on both sides of the political scale trying to be pure, trying to stay with their own kind, trying to have their own little neighborhoods, and which is stupid. I just stuff that like that. It bothers me. It really does. And some people say you shouldn't let that bother you. You can't control the world. You can't control people. But I just see some disturbing things in our country. I just see a lot of anger, animosity. I see a lot of vengeful hearts. And I don't like seeing that us against them garbage that never solved nothing, that just made us hate each other. And I don't want to go there. I don't want our nation to go there. I want us, believe what we want, but violence ain't the answer. Nobody wins with that. And what scares me is, once something violent happened, I don't want to see the back and forth, you know, because that's when innocent people that have nothing to do with it get caught in the middle, you know. That's when children that aren't a part of it. Kind of like gang violence, right? They shoot out back and forth, and some little kid gets hit that has nothing to do with that mess. I don't want to see it on a larger scale where, you know, for the most part, I think black and white people get along and don't really have a problem, but there's those agitators on both sides trying to stir things up. And that's the scary thing because it only takes a few to create chaos. It only takes a few to do a lot of damage, And that's where I'm at. That's where my mindset is. I've been dealing with a little bit of depression just because of my health and what's going on. And I'm just, and then I look and I'm like, I got to hold myself accountable because I'm not doing right here. I'm not, I can't sit and feel sorry for myself and get intoxicated and feel better for a little bit. And then that's not right. And for me to say I'm doing just great and peachy and I'm telling you that, but behind the scenes is not so good, you know, that's not holding myself accountable. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And I apologize for my last few shows. I've been kind of off, but I'm dealing with some stuff, guys, and I apologize. And you know, and I try to put together a show, and then my mind starts going all over the dang place, and I apologize for that. And things are going to get better, and I'm going to get back on track of what I need to do, and try to make this more entertaining, and hopefully get something out of it, and hopefully, you know, I can encourage people to open up your options, get in those friendship circles, go to different events, get to know people. At the end of the day, men and women are men and women, whether they're black or white or Asian. We're people. And believe it or not, there there ain't much difference approaching a black woman than if you're approaching a white woman. Basically, it. If she's into you, she's into you. If not, well, you know it, and you move on. If you have a connection, you have it. If not, go where you have a connection. You know, get with somebody that shares your values. That's the key. Someone that has your same goals. Me and my wife, we got the same values. We have this, you know, we're both people of faith. We have the same faith, right? We're both Christians. We we're traditional people. We've been raised to be traditional. Um, we both come from a blue collar background, and we share the same values. We had the same goals. We wanted marriage. We wanted a family. We wanted to have the house and the kids and the American dream. And we've been blessed with that. Though our kids are grown up having their own children, their own families, um, I embrace that time. And I just think if I didn't have the courage to, you know, talk to my wife, I would never would have been blessed with what I got. You know, I wouldn't have found a wife that loves me, and that's a blessing. And really, it's, it's, you either make your move or you don't. You either do it or you don't. And if you're too afraid and you can't do it, well, you miss out. I'm just saying. Um, I was supposed. Oh, thank you so much, Winter Glow. I appreciate that. Sorry, guys, I haven't really been reading the comments. I'm just kind of caught in my thought process. But no, thanks, J10. Thank you so much. Um, can you please share what the video's about? The video is about accountability. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of accountability for me and explain why I didn't have a prayer meeting for a while. I've been dealing with some stuff. And I'm just saying, I'm going to be honest with you guys and let you know what I believe, and I owe it to you guys. I believe I do. Some people say, no, you don't owe people a dang thing online. But a lot of people, they're there to build a platform and make money and be YouTube famous. I'm not. This is for me. I want to connect with people. Okay, I might never meet you, and most people I will never meet. I've met like 5 people in person from this channel. Okay, and it's rare I meet people. But most people I will never know, and you know, and but that don't mean I, that I don't care for you. I still care for you. I still have love for you, even though I never met you in person. You know, and we can have a connection. We can talk about dating, marriage, and those of us that are married, and we could share our experience with those that are thinking about opening up their options, and maybe give them some good advice. Make sure that's what they really want. Make sure they're not doing it because it's trendy, because hey, everybody's swirling. No, they're doing it because that's who they love. And I always say I only support swirling when it leads to investment. Okay. Um, and on this channel, this is what it's about. Okay. We're going to respect black women. We're not going to talk about them sexually or their body types. I don't do that. Okay. It's about finding true love and doing it the right way. Finding out what we have in common and how we can come together and build families. And You know, do swirl the right way, swirl to investment. Okay. And some people get confused. They think because I talk about swirling that I'm just here for the hookup. No. Okay. I'm here to talk about opening up your options, give you some advice. Now, my advice ain't perfect. I'm not a professional dating coach or none of that stuff, but I can share my experiences and what me and my wife went through, And the bottom line is, you find someone you love more than your problems, and you're going to be okay. You're going to make it, you know. And that's my thing. And my thing is vetting. And don't get caught up because you're in an interracial relationship. Black women don't, black women don't think because he's a white guy and you've seen your friends that got an awesome white husband or whatever. Don't get caught up and think every white guy's awesome. Okay. I got caught up in thinking, wow, black women are amazing. And I had positive experience dating. When the relationship didn't work is mostly my fault. I was young and stupid. So I thought, well, black women are amazing. So I dated this one woman that there were red flags all over the place, and I knew it, but I was just so into her. I just thought, man, and I knew I was wrong, but I could change her. I could fix it. You never fix people. If you got red flags in the beginning, most likely you're going to have red flags and it ain't going to last. Okay. Now there's always an exception to the rule. There is, but I I, I wouldn't I wouldn't advise rolling the dice and hoping it works out. That usually goes really bad. Um, you know, I can find I can find some black women attractive, but it's their backgrounds, family, and I don't want to bury my genes. Sorry. Okay. I don't know what that means. Are you saying it's mm, okay? All right. But anyway, guys, this is just to be a short video, okay? And hey, Winnie, how you doing? And I just want to tell you guys, look, I will do my best to be honest to you, okay? And like I said, the reason I am is I owe you that. You take your time to listen to me. The least I could do is be honest with you and let you know where I'm at, okay? And I'm not letting you know where I'm at to try to convert you to my way of life. I'm just letting you know. You know what I'm saying? Your political views is your business. Your religion, that's your business. Okay? Now, as a Christian, I'll try to convert you. That's my job. But if you say no, you know, I still have love for you, and that's your business. Okay? I'm not trying to change anybody's hearts and minds to mine. Okay? I just want you to know where I'm at. I want you to know what I think, how I feel. Okay? Like I said, I owe it to you because I don't want you to watch me thinking I'm something I'm not. That's very disrespectful for me to hide things about myself like that. Okay? That's accountability. Okay? Now I could build the channel bigger by telling you what you want to hear and going with what most people think. but I wouldn't be honest, right? I'm not going to get up here and lie to you and say I'm this way, and then when I click off and go back to reality, I'm another way. No, okay. And I don't like people that do that. I don't like when people put a false narrative. I don't like when there's channels, so-called swirling channels, where the people aren't into the swirl. The content creator really isn't into it, but he's doing it to get views, and well, people follow you if you tell them what you believe in and what you're into. A lot of people gravitate to people like them, and if they think they're you're like them, they'll follow you. When I started watching YouTube, I started seeing these channels, swirling channels, divestment channels, right? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Hearing black women talk about opening up their options and interracially dating. I'm like, man, that's interracial marriage. I'm like, that's my life. So I would gravitate towards that, right? And I would listen, and I would hear their stories and what they went through, and you know, and it would be wrong if they weren't into it, and I'm just hearing lies. I don't know. Wouldn't that be a disappointment? If I came up and told you I was into black women, but you found out I had a Chinese wife, and I never had any experience with black women. I mean, wouldn't that'd be dumb, wouldn't it? And I'm not saying, you know, I think most swirling channels really are into that, but there's some that aren't. And, you know, some people just want to build a following. Some people will do it even if they don't even believe in what their content is about, you know? And to me that's not right, because you're having people buy into something that you don't believe in, you know? But the thing here is when I talk about swirl to investment, okay, that's what I do. That is my life. I'm in an interracial marriage, 31 years. I do have a track record, okay? It's because I chose the right wife. I chose, you know, my wife loves me and I love my wife. I'm blessed, you know. And I want everybody that wants to open up their options have a blessing like that. You find someone that you love, that loves you back, that you can build, you know. But I want all marriages to last. I don't want to see any group suffer, and I want to see everybody do good. But we have something special, you know. There are black women, white men that have, you know, gotten married and defied the odds and made it work. And, sometimes there's going to be those haters, but if you love each other, you'll make it through. In fact, with me and my wife, we kind of embrace fighting for each other, you know, kind of embrace the confrontation at times. I don't know why. I know that sounds weird, but that's the way I show my wife I love her, defending her, you know, and she deserves that. She deserves to be defended and protected and provided for. That's my job. And I don't look at it like it's my job, but it's what I'm supposed to do, but that's what I love to do. I want to provide for my wife. I want to make my wife happy. I want to make her feel like the most beautiful woman on earth. I want her to feel secure. I want her to feel safe and happy. you know. And it's not just because it's my job, it's because that's what I want to do. But for a marriage to work, you have to have accountability. You got to understand that sometimes it is your fault. Sometimes you are wrong. Sometimes you got to, you know, have that pride knocked down. You got to be you got to be humbled. Okay? Accountability. Admit when you're wrong, you know? Because we're all human at the end of the day. We're all people. Okay? And I just want to share this with you guys. And, you know, like I said, I've been hypocritical with some things and I'm stopping it right now. Okay. And I will have a prayer meeting, but I can't be drinking and having a prayer meeting. That is not right. I got to be held accountable. Okay. So that's where my struggles, and that's my accountability. And me doing prayer meeting, doing that, and being a hypocrite. That's not what Christians do. So I had to cut that out. I had to stop it. Okay. So that's why you see me kind of crazy at times. I'm going through some stuff. Okay. There's a lot on my heart. There's some things I'm worried about. Okay. I try not to worry because it's in God's hands, right? But I'm still human. I worry. I do. And I tell you, around this time, I've really been worried. I've really, and then when I get worried, and I see all the nonsense going on and all the violence out there, and I just get a sadness over me, and I do get a little emotional, and it breaks my heart, and and I think, God, why? Why is this happening? You know, and I'm seeing angry Christians, and we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to have love for each other. That bothers me, you know. But you're rocking with me for 5 years now. Dang, it's been that long. It has. That's crazy. So you were in the beginning, yeah, when I've had amazing times doing this. I love YouTube. I tell you what, there's times I'll be feeling down and I'll do a show and come out feeling good and talking to you guys, and I'm just like, and you know what makes me feel good? This is when I get emails from people that tell me they have opened up their options, and you know, one lady said she was thanking me for giving her the courage to open up her options, and it makes you feel good, and and guys too, when they say, you know what, I approached a black woman, and you know what, she said yes. I like hearing stories like that. Um, I like when people share that with me, and but sometimes it's easier to get out of your comfort zone when you see other people doing it. You know, it's amazing. Like us as people, people will be afraid to do something, and when one person just steps out and does it, sometimes you just see other people do it and other people, and it's like sometimes it just takes that one person to break the ice and phew, you know. And the thing of it is hey, Get to know each other. Get to know that black woman at work. Talk to her. Don't just assume she don't like you because you're white. I mean, you never know. Not, and vice versa. Ladies don't think that white men aren't interested. They are. Okay. So, get out of that comfort zone. You'd be amazed. You know what? When I open up my options, oh my God. I the first girlfriend I had was a black girl. Okay, and then I never looked back. But this was in high school. I would pass by her. I would look at her. She'd look at me. She'd smile, and then I'd turn my head and act like I didn't notice. And playing that game, afraid to approach her, afraid I was going to get rejected. Right? Went through most of the school year not even talking to her until one day I got my courage. I'm like, would you like to go out? She grabbed my hand, pulled me towards her, and said, "Yeah, I'll go out with you." She's like, "I was wondering when you were going to ask. You keep walking by." Yeah, sometimes you don't know. You just assume, oh, they're going to like me. Us as humans, we just assume we're not going to be liked. We just assume they're not going to be interested, right? We always expect the worst. But just give it a shot. You know, that's right. You may miss your blessings. I'm telling you, if I didn't have the courage to talk to my wife, where would I be right now? If I didn't have the courage to speak to black women, you know, I would be with some Becky that I'm really not into. Like, okay, this is what we do, and no, and nothing against white women. That's not who I was attracted to, and I wouldn't be happy. You got to be happy with who you're attracted to who you love. And some of us, there's some people not attracted to people within their racial group, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We like who we like. We have a preference, okay? And it don't matter who your preference is. Just go where you want to go, but go where you're loved and celebrated. You know, it's okay if you're attracted to black women. It's crazy. If you're a white man, you say, "I'm just attracted to black women." That's it. They'll look at you, call you weird. Something's wrong with you. But if you're a white man and you say you only like white women, it's, oh, well, that's expected. Like, what's wrong with whichever way you go? We're men and women, right? God sees your heart and looks for love in it. Skin color shouldn't be a factor. Right. It shouldn't. But sometimes we're attracted to people of a different racial group because of experience, because of the qualities we found in, like for me with black women, I always felt black women had a big heart. I always felt black women, I just love black women. And there was a connection somewhere. And it grew, and I could see the beauty in black women, you know, and just something about them. And that's okay. Do you? As long as you don't bash people on your way. I never had to tear down a white woman to express how much I love a black woman. That to me is dumb. They're just stupid. And if you're doing that, do you really love who you're with? Hmm, I'm just saying. But anyway, I could talk all night. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this, but I just want you to know I love you. I think you're amazing. And if you love me enough to accept me for who I am, I love you enough to accept you for who you are. Okay? We don't have to agree, but we can love each other. We can have love and respect for each other. We can, you know. Well, thanks, Species Unknown. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys coming up, you know, and being part of this show, you know. But yeah, this show is just a little bit about accountability. I'm explaining a little bit of my health things, letting you know what I'm going through. I don't need to talk to you about that, but um, I just am. So if you see me kind of off, that's what it is, you know. But anyway, I love you guys. You have a good night. Oh, speaking of that, let's see. If you guys see in my schedule, Saturday night, okay, Saturday night swirl, okay, I'm going to be talking about. If you look in my post, okay, the hidden treasure, true blessing, okay, and I'm going to talk about, and it's going to be a show. I will be talking to black women, but it's going to be a lot towards white men and non-black men. The the hidden treasure, what I call black women, the hidden treasure, because a lot of us don't know how amazing black women are, because not everybody thinks about opening up their options. You know, it just it seems more of the norm to be with somebody in your own racial group, right? But we don't see how amazing black women are because we don't get to know them. We don't get to know them as people. We don't get to have a relationship a lot of times. Not because we can't, but we just don't, you know. But sometimes people, curiosity, you know, and they see a black woman and she's beautiful, you know, and you get to know her and say, man, she's amazing, you know. And I want to be talking about that. You know, black women are amazing treasure and blessing. And there's an opportunity to open up our options. In a world where marriage rates are going down, you know, and black women outnumber black men by over 2 million. So there's black women out there that will be willing to open up their options, you know. And ladies, there's other groups of men that are more than willing. They would love to date a black woman. Okay. Just make sure you vet, okay, and have your standards. Don't just go through a vetting process and let your standards slide. No, always have your standards, okay? Because if you give your body up to a man thinking he loves you, you let those standards slide. And what if he doesn't? Then what? Then you could be left alone. He might dump you. You might even have his child. Now you're a single mother. Now you know, I'm just saying, be careful. Women are always most vulnerable in relationships. Okay. And I wish we would change the laws to hold men more accountable. You know, I believe if you're shacking up with a woman, marriage law should apply. That common law thing, you should be held accountable like you're married. I'm just saying. How many black women don't want black men? Well, I don't know. But if you don't, hey, open up your options. I'm like, hey, I tell you what, Hey, I found a blessing in black women. I got an amazing wife. Heck, hey, I opened up my options and I've been blessed. Hey, quit that out. Get over here, Leo. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Hey, you guys want to see Leo? Okay, come here. I can't catch him. He's crazy. Okay, this here is Leo. He's a Pomeranian. Okay, he's a good puppy. He's full grown now. This is about as big as he gets. Okay, real friendly dog. He's a little dog. This is my daughter's dog, but he's my little buddy. He's a good boy. He's mischievous, but he's real friendly. Yep. Say hi, Leo. Hi. Okay. All right, Leo. You quit barking, okay? I'm on the show. You want to be part of the show? Okay. All right, Leo. Okay. So if you hear a dog barking, that's Leo. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Hi, Leo. How's it going, Dust Divester over 47? Good to see you, young lady. Chris, good to see you, brother. You're not a Christian anymore. What? But I always support you in the channel. Swirl to investment. Oh, okay. That's good to see you, Chris. Cute, precious Palm. Yeah, Pomeranians are neat dogs. You know, they're expensive. We got him for $750, but we got it from a private breeder, and they gave us a good deal. Because they knew us. So, but yeah, they're neat dogs. And the good thing is they don't shed hair. So you won't have hair all over the place, but you got to cut their hair because it grows like our hair does. So, I mean, we give them a haircut like once a month, um, and we have like dog shampoo, and so he's a clean dog. Uh, we have a backyard that he runs around in. We got a pretty big backyard, but he's mostly clean. He's not out running around eating crap off the ground. So, you know, but they're really neat dogs. They're cute dogs. They are. And but if you get one, just make sure if you're going give them a bath, do it like I think it said every 20 days. No more than because dogs they need that oil, and if you give them too many baths, you'll dry them out, and that could be a problem. So you know, just follow guidelines. Make sure they get their shots and everything. And we take them to doggy school and do that too, because he gets around other dogs and people. You want your dog to be socialized, or they'll be like going crazy when somebody comes over or they see some other dog, or you know they're more friendly if you have them socialized. Around other dogs, around people. Um, that would be my advice. And Leo's spoiled. He's got like three doggy beds, and he just picks whichever one he wants to sleep in. You know, yeah, we've got a little couch for him. Yeah. But anyway, enough about Leo. But Pomeranians are neat dogs, um, but they're expensive. I mean, you can spend like up to $2,000 or something like it, 2,500. I think I've seen them go for. Um, now, like I said, if you find a breeder that, you know, some people will negotiate, you know, but we got him as a puppy, so he was, you know, in fact, he was the last of the litter. We got the last one. So they kind of gave us the deal. So we were lucky, you know. But that's my daughter's dog. That's, you know. But anyway, guys, let me tell you, I love you guys. Hey, don't be afraid to open up those options. Just be cautious, like you're dating anyone. Same standards, okay? Right? Have your standards, especially you ladies, because there's a lot of predators out there. There are people that out there that just want to date you to sleep with you, okay? And some of these guys are good actors, and they'll try to make you believe think you're special and all this. Have your standards. You have your standards, it's going to protect you. Okay? No man should be wanting to touch you right off the bat anyway. If he cares for you, you know, he'll wait till marriage. Okay? And I know a lot of people say, well, Roadrunner, that's back in the day. It ain't like that no more. Well, it's up to you what it's like. Okay? You don't have to lower your standards for the modern times, okay? The modern times is what gets us in trouble. You know, I say, you know. But anyway, guys, you have a good night. I hope all is well. Okay, I'll see you Saturday night swirl. We're going to talk about the hidden treasure, true blessing. We're in, okay, and we're going to talk about how to make a love connection, have a little battle plan, you might say. Be strategic. How are you going to meet this person? And men and women. We're going to talk about that. And I would like you guys to come on and talk to me Saturday night. Tell me, what's on your mind? What's, thinking strategic. How can we meet? How can we open up our options? Where do we go to meet people? You know, how do you approach a black woman? You know, I'd say have confidence, approach her, be loving and respectful. Okay. Be confident, but have humility. Okay. That's the key. And most black women tell me they like a man that has confidence, but not a big ego. A man that has confidence, that can do attitude, but has some humility. Don't think he's all that. Okay. And I think most people want to be with somebody that has some humility, but has confidence. Okay. You can be confident and be humble. Yeah. You know. But anyway, thank you guys so much. God bless. I'll see you Saturday night. Okay. So get ready for that. And like I said, I apologize for any craziness I'm just going through it a little bit. Okay, but it's gonna be okay. You know. And anyways, you guys lift up my spirits. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. Uh Come in, bring your tea and enjoy. Okay. And anyways, if you guys need to reach me, just email me. Okay, at roadrunnernm89@gmail.com. Let me put it up here real quick before I close. Okay. All right. Here's my email. Okay. It's also in the description box, but you can also find it on my community wall if you scroll down to like the beginning. But that's my email address. It's roadrunnernm89@gmail.com. Okay. If you want to talk to me, email me. That's the email. If you want me to say a prayer for you, I'll do that too. You know, if you ever want to be part of a show, you got an idea, email me. Okay, and and I check my emails pretty frequently. Within a day or two, I'll see your email. Okay, so just send an email. And oh, also Sunday, I'm going to do a prayer meeting. There's something I want to talk about. There's some amazing videos I want to show you. Um, but Saturday Night Swirl is going to be fun. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to get out of this political garbage out there. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to talk about swirl to investment. We're going to talk about how amazing Black women are, the hidden treasure. Okay, and we're going to talk about how Black women can open up their options and find quality men. Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, and I'll give you guys some ideas. Um, and I'll give you some homework you can practice. All right, join me Saturday night. Okay, for Saturday Night Swirl. Topic will be um, Black women are the hidden treasure and a true blessing. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that, but I'm also going to talk about how we can make a connection. You know, all right. But there's my email if you need me. Okay, all right. But anyway, guys, and let me say this too. Okay, I know sometimes we get down, sometimes we get depressed. That's life. We're human. Sometimes life throws crap at us that knock us down. Okay, but we can get up and keep pushing on. All right. And if you ever like feel down, you want to email me, and talk. I do have uh, I do have a Google phone number. If people, cause I've had people depressed and call me and say, we're gonna go through, and you know, I've had a couple women, and I'll have my wife talk to them because it's better woman to woman than you know, and we do that because sometimes we're down and trying to reach somebody, they won't answer, or you can't get. Okay, and I would suggest you guys, if you ever see somebody down in need, a family member or a friend, take it serious. Okay. We all go through some things. We're human beings. Okay. We don't know what others are going through. Okay. They might seem okay with their outwardly appearance, but we don't know. Okay. Be kind to each other. Love one another with love and respect. Okay. That's what it's about. All right. You know, but anyway, you guys can email me anytime. Okay. And, but I'll see you Saturday Night Swirl. We'll have a prayer meeting. We'll do a we'll do a Monday prayer meeting. How's that sound? Because church is Sunday. It's hard to do one in between. So we'll do a Monday prayer meeting. How's that sound? If you guys are interested. But Saturday Night Swirl, come join me. We'll have a good time. Okay. And we're going to put all this nonsense happening in the world behind us. And we're going to talk about opening up our options. Okay. Anyway, guys, have a good night. Oh, let me say a prayer real quick before we go. Lord, thank you so much for this show tonight. Lord, thank you so much for everybody coming in and listening. and being part of this show tonight. And Lord, please help us to hold ourselves accountable, okay? And help us to hold others accountable, but with love and respect, okay? We all need accountability. Every one of us do. And Lord, I pray that you give us the strength to hold ourselves accountable and help us to do that. Because, Lord, it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. We don't want to be wrong. And I pray you give us the courage to see the truth and see what we need to improve on, to where we can be better, where we can be a blessing to others. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a good night. See you Saturday night. Have a good night.